Hi, welcome back to the A&S Way. This video is a continuation of our series on us buying our first home in the USA. And this particular video is on...
Well, it's on two things. The final and total cost to build our home.
Finally.
Yeah, which has taken how long to get there? A month?
I feel like it's a good month now.
To work out the total costs of all of the different things. And if you want to know what that's made up of, watch the video series and you'll see there's different parts that make up the total cost in the US, or at least in Las Vegas, whereas in the UK it's one cost. As well as giving an update on the electrical choices and the electrical total spend, because that was the only part that was missing before we were able to total it up.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, we've had other videos that detail kind of the base cost, the structural cost, the design center options that we added, and the flooring options as well. So as Ant said, this is the electrical cost. So I'm glad we finally got there. So the first thing to note is, if you want to know what we selected, we have another video where we do a walkthrough. So we met the electrical person at Woodside and they walked us through the house, and that's where we made the selections of the lighting, where we wanted the electrical outlets. And after that, we got an email detailing exactly what we had listed with him through that walkthrough. And also in that email, the document that we got, it had a plan of the house with all the elements that we had selected, exactly with the placement as well. And it's quite important. So much like the design center options where they say really do check your selections, this is exactly the same. In the end, we will be accountable if we've signed off on something that is not exactly how we wanted it.
I'll put something up on the screen that shows you how they map this out. It's like a schematic or a blueprint, and they put what you have chosen with the height and the distance from a wall or the distance from another electrical item to really make sure you're signing off on exactly what they're going to do, and vice versa, because if they get it wrong, you can say, well, I signed off on this, it's not what you said. I really like it. You really do get to personalize and customize the house. That's the benefit. The downside is you go wild and you end up spending a ton of money. One thing we did want to say is there was either a suggestion or a couple of suggestions over how to manage some of the spend from a couple of our subscribers. And we did take it in, and I went back to the house and I had a look, and we ended up spending more.
But we did really appreciate it, because one of the things one of the subscribers had mentioned was about the lighting options. And if you've watched the other video, you will know we mentioned how odd we found it, that one, it wasn't included and it was an option that you had to add on. And obviously in a UK home, your light fixture, certainly in the middle of the room, is a very standard option. And they had suggested that we just go for that pre-wire and then not do, you don't have to do the downlight as an example.
Yeah, so the way the fans work here, the pre-wire will include the ability to wire the lights
as well.
So as an example, in the bedroom where we are now, it's a fan and triple light combo. The owner here went all out because he's got 5 can lights and that, which is nice. But for us, I think I would rather have the pre-wired just power the fan. If we did want a light in there, fine, but in some cases I think just having the fan is nice, and then the downlighters.
So this is where we did go back and forth actually, because I was leaning more on the other side because of what I'm used to in the UK, where you just have that pre-wire.
Not pre-wire, you have a pendant
in the middle, and that's what I'm used to. So for me, I wasn't too fussed about the downlighters, but Anton does like a lot of light, so
yeah.
And it wasn't too much of a big difference in cost either.
No, it's not a huge difference, and in the scheme of owning your home, especially, we're unlikely to end up staying there, but if we were, I'd rather be 100% happy and have it an option that I never use or only use occasionally than something where I go, I really wish we would have done that, and then paying somebody to come back out to do it. So what did we go for? We ended up going for everything that we had listed, plus one additional thing after going back and reviewing. I will put I put all of the stuff that we've chosen up on the screen. The total price ended up being $7,340, of which you have to pay half up front and the other half can go onto your mortgage, or you can pay it off before. It seems like quite a lot of money, but we did choose quite a lot of stuff, and you'll see on the screen that there's things like pre-wire for security cameras. Every room has either 4 or 6, or I think in the great room and dining room it has even more lights.
So the downlighters is the key thing that we've pretty much been consistent throughout the house, where maybe other people going through the same process wouldn't perhaps pick those.
So that's probably the biggest cost overall, and the second biggest cost was 3 lights to the underside of the cabinets or cupboards. I can't remember exactly how much, but I think maybe $600-700. So that was quite an expensive option when really it shouldn't be, in my opinion. But then to get someone to come in, it's more hassle.
Yeah, I think there were things like the black plug, the sockets for the plugs, the outlets that were slightly more. We had a few more options outside in the deck with the fans, and actually that was something we went back and forth on, the position of the pre-wire for the fan. And it's one of those things, it's a difficult one because you don't know exactly where you're going to be sitting and how you want it to be placed, but then also you want it to aesthetically look right. So these are the things that you're balancing as you're looking and making your options. So you're probably thinking, how much is this house costing us now? Well, we finally got to the point where we do know the total cost. And we're going to start by detailing and recapping all the elements that have made up the total cost of the house. So the base price that we started off with was $582,990, but that actually included the elevation cost, which was around $3.
Yeah, so the base price of the home is the structure, which was $580, and then a $3,000 upgrade for the elevation, which is how the home looks, the fascia of the home. So those two combined were $583,000.
Yes. The next element was the lot premium. So depending on the lot size, where it is, the type of views you get, determines the premium you pay for the lot. And that this particular development could range from anything, I think from 20 initially up to about 100,000 depending on the lot, and ours was 30,000 for the lot premium. We then had the structural options, and these were pre-selected. We mentioned and detailed that in another video. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. And that came to 40,460. So at the point that we put the earnest deposit down, the price of the house at that point was $653,450. The next part was then the options, and this was going to the design centre, picking the options across the house, the flooring.
It's things like what type of surface do you want on your island and countertops? What colour cabinetry or cupboards do you want? What style of banister, or what do we call it? Banister, as you say, banister or stair rail do you want? So we have a video that details all of those options, and we've got pictures of each of those. That alone, I think we spent around $20,500 on the interior design upgrades.
Yeah, and then the next bit that we debated on quite heavily was the flooring options. And felt a certain way, I felt another way, but we definitely compromised on what was the better option, and that was 13,000, just over.
Roughly about 13,500 for the flooring upgrades, and we really didn't get too much in the way of flooring upgrades. It was just mostly the downstairs.
Yeah, which doesn't sound great, but we picked the flooring that we like, so that is mainly for downstairs in the house. And the final one, which we've detailed in this video, was the electrical options, which was 7,360.
Something like that.
So the total of the house now currently is 694,955.
Which was nearly what I said. I said about 700 all in. And the important part, I think, for all of this is the starting price. Well, in actual fact, the starting price of what we saw was 550,000 when we went to originally put down our deposit, and by the time we actually got to put down a deposit, it jumped 30,000. But the price that you see is not going to be the price that you pay in particular around the lot premium. So the lot premiums, as Selena mentioned, started at 20,000. You couldn't just buy the house, you have to pay a lot premium. So when they say premium, it's part of the cost.
Yeah.
And you can't choose, well, I want that house on that plot. They tell you which plots are available. So at this point in time in October/November 2021, don't expect to be paying what you see on the price sheet. You're going to probably spend a good 10 to 25% on top of that base price.
Yeah, and that's definitely something to factor in when you're buying any of these new builds here in the USA. You really do need to account for that extra percentage on top of that initial base price.
And also be prepared to have cash, because it doesn't all go onto your mortgage. They'll start asking you for half of quite a lot of stuff up front. Or a check. Not, you don't have to walk in with a bag of cash, but you are going to need a lot of those funds available. And in the previous video I did list out how much out of pocket, and I'll put it on the screen now.
And that's actually a really important thing. When you're buying a home in the UK, a new build, you usually put down a very negligible reservation fee, something like £500 or £1,000.
5 to 1,000. And if you watch one of my older videos when we did go back to buy an apartment to rent out, which didn't turn out as it should, I put £1,000 and I lost £1,000. Perfectly reasonable. Here, you're probably at the point that you're going to lose all your money, 20 to 30,000 in, and we've just learned one of our neighbours to be had to put down, I think, 85,000 that they lose after 5 days if they don't complete that transaction. So be prepared and have this as part of your arsenal of information. Don't just walk into there expecting you can go in with a mortgage, put 1,000 down and walk out with a secured home.
You definitely need to consider the amount of money that you will need in the next 3 weeks, pretty much. Very much in the first week, you're going to need at least that minimum 10,000, but as we learned, it could be 80,000.
This is very specific to Summerlin West. I know because I just recently watched some videos over in Henderson, which is only 15 miles away.
Yeah, not far.
About that. They still have places where you can secure it with 3,000, 3,000 to 5,000. They still have lots that are much bigger and much nicer than ours, at 8,000. So if that type of money is a concern, maybe look in the other areas, because you're going to get an equally nice or an even nicer home with a nicer plot, more land, for far less money and far less money up front. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. So finally, after I think it's about 4 weeks of going through this process,
we've spent $695,000. Yeah.
But it has actually been, I would say, a really nice process. It hasn't been stressful at all. No part of it going to the design centre, the electrical walkthrough wasn't stressful. The sales guy that we're dealing with is really great as well, quite relaxed. Even with like the checks that we've had to do and everything, and paying that, they're really not...
They need the money, it's part of their thing, but they're not applying pressure on you. Where is it? I need you in today. It's been really relaxed, and if there has been a problem, which there has with us, because we can't write checks.
They returned, the bank returned the money, so they took the money, then returned it.
It wasn't a major problem. It was like, look, it's fine, you made the attempt, we'll sort it out. So it's been quite a easy, pleasant experience.
So far. And yeah, I think that's it. So now it's a case of waiting for them to give us updates on the build. We certainly plan to update you on how the construction is going when we actually see any sort of a frame going up. We have no idea when that's going to be. But if you haven't already, please do subscribe, comment, please let us know. Some of the comments we've been getting on this series has been really, really useful. Some of you have been sharing what's the norm in other places or not the norm, and the costs. We really do find it helpful, so please do keep commenting, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.